Thank you, Dr. Stan. Such kind words. So great to see you today. I love being around students. I love the energy and the excitement of what goes on at Williams Baptist University. When I'm around the students, I know some of the greatest leaders that Arkansas and the South and the world has are here. And so when I'm in the presence of greatness, I know it, and I kind of get emotional, so I'm a little emotional. So it's great to be here. So excited about Dr. Stan Norman coming to Arkansas. I don't know how the family felt when you said you were going to Arkansas, but I can only imagine. But thank you for allowing him to come. And I think you see now we're a far superior state than any other state where Dr. Stan has been. So I want to talk about faith today. And so I will direct a lot of what I say to me, mainly to me, and to Dr. Stan and to the Foundations for the Future board of directors, and I think to everyone here. We're going to be in a passage in John chapter 6. John chapter 6. I'm not trying to preach a perfect sermon like you see in the sermon books. Most of my sermons are utility work trucks. They're not smooth, oiled, shiny machines, and that's on purpose. I really don't care about that. I have something to say, I think from God, and I won't say it. And so that's what I intend. I want you to hear and to work through these things. This is a big step of faith for Williams Baptist University. And the disciples told Jesus two things that stand out. One time they said, teach us to pray. Something about Jesus' effectiveness in praying stood out. And they said, we want to have that. They also said in another place, Lord, increase our faith. They saw the faith that Jesus had. And so in Luke 17:5, they said, show us how to increase our faith. For me, it's been a journey for years and years in ministry. God, show me how to increase my faith. When I see what's happening around the world, people talk about how bad things are, and there is a lot of disappointment in the world. But if you look at what is happening in kingdom work, there is unbelievable, unparalleled revival and spiritual awakening on every continent in the world. It looks like, it acts like, it sounds like the book of Acts. Every place except for Western Europe and North America. That breaks my heart. I don't want to miss out on God's greatest things. I don't want to miss out on being involved in what God gets to do, incredible kingdom work. So I don't want Williams Baptist University and Dr. Stan and the faculty and staff and the students to miss out either on what God is doing. I think we're off track with the church in America. I think we're kind of too spoiled and we're kind of too lazy and kind of too selfish. I think we substitute programs for prayer and desperation for God. The churches where God is working a lot of times are underground churches that are illegal. They have no money. They have no building. They have the power of God. And that's what I want to see. We have a need in higher Christian education, and I want to see God do incredible things at Williams. I can do nothing but be excited about Dr. Stan being here and about what you're doing. I can't hide it, so this is not a bait and switch. This is a flat-out bait, all right? So I'm not trying to disguise. I'm excited about these moves for Williams. John chapter 6, would you stand with me as we read God's word, and let me bring out some points about faith in this journey. John 6, verse 1. Sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the miraculous signs he had performed on the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover feast was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? Verse 6, Underline verse 6. He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 8 months' wages would not buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up, here is a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? Jesus said, how the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and the men sat down, about 5,000 of them. Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. When they had all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over, let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten. Father, speak to us in a powerful way in our heart by your Spirit and by your word in these moments. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. I have a heading in my Bible that says the feeding of the 5,000. The folks who helped put verses and chapters in the Bible added that. We call this the feeding of the 5,000. There's 5,000 men, but scholars say there's actually 15, 18, 20, 22,000 folks, because there's only 5,000 men. So this is really the feeding of the 15, 18, 20, 22,000. Maybe you've got it figured out how many there are. I don't care. I'm not going to argue about trivial matters. We would say it in some places in Arkansas, there's a heap of folks here. So Jesus feeds a heap of folks. So if you look at this on face value, Jesus does a miracle, feeds folks. But I've been studying this passage, Dr. Stan, for several years. And this is one of the passages that God teaches us faith. What happens when God does a big work? How does God accomplish big things? What are the lessons in faith? Who does God use to do the big kingdom endeavors? What is God's heart? What matters to God? Who gets credit for it? Where does pride fit into this thing? There's a whole lot of stuff going on. See, Jesus is about to be gone. He's not going to be with them in presence anymore. And he's going to give them a task that's monumental. I want you guys, come here. This is the Great Commission. Guys, come here. I know you don't have much to little education, and most of you are just kind of blue-collar workers. So I just got something I want you to do. I want you to take the gospel to the whole world. Wow, that's pretty big. So you want us to do this, Jesus? I mean, we're just struggling fishermen, a lot of us. We don't have the intellect. We don't have the financial backing. We don't have the money. We don't have the stuff. We're not the folks that you would ask to do this. In fact, in Acts chapter 2, on the day of Pentecost, when they spoke, and they spoke in language they hadn't learned, some of the folks said, whoa. Who are these guys? These are Galileans. That was kind of a term of derision. These are like the redneck country folks. They have a country accent. So why are they doing this? How do they do the big stuff? So here's what Jesus is doing. He's getting these folks ready for big kingdom accomplishments, and he's got to teach them some stuff. Now, let me tell you about you as a university. God is getting you ready to some big kingdom stuff. And there's some things that he's trying to teach you through this passage. For some of you as students, you need to understand God is going to give you opportunities to make kingdom impact like you've never imagined. There may be a lot of opportunities. There may be one-time, one-shot opportunity. I can't speak for God. But you need to be thinking now while you're in this university environment, when you're with these great professors and everything that goes into an education like this, God is preparing you to give you a chance to make impact. Now, you can waste it. You can just have a trivial life of just being excessively wealthy, some of you. Some of you can waste your life and do nothing. You can waste your life being prideful. Some of you are going to make impact like you never imagined. Some of you, business folks and other folks, he's going to give you the ability to make incredible amounts of money. And the more he can trust you with incredible amounts of money to invest in kingdom work, the more money he's going to help you make. The greater your sphere of influence is going to be. So there's lessons of faith here also for students. So we come to the passage and we've got a need. We got a whole heap of folks, and they didn't come prepared with water and food. Jesus calls the disciples and said, hey, come here. What are we going to do? We got to feed these folks. In two passages, here's what they said. Two other chapters or books in the Bible where this is recorded, they said, just send them away. Just send them away. You understand we've got some expectant mothers here? You understand we've got folks that are diabetic that they're going to have food issues? You understand some of these folks have not had enough money? There's some folks with some real need here. We can never forget this about Jesus. Jesus never sent anyone away. When Jesus encountered folks with need, he never sent anyone away. Now, our church may say, we're just not for people like that. When a church decides they're like that, in my personal anecdotal experience, that's when God's hand of power goes off a church and it doesn't come back for a long time if it comes back. You cannot have the power of Jesus and not have the heart of Jesus. You cannot have the power of Jesus without the heart of Jesus. Jesus never sent anyone away. He responds to needs, big needs. It is a dire time in the life of higher Christian education. I think Jesus cares deeply about the incredible leaders that are going to come out of higher Christian education with an incredible worldview that are better prepared to make unbelievable differences for eternity. I think he cares about what you're doing at Williams. I think he applauds your faith, and I think he wants to step in. He cares about needs and responds to needs. So there's a great need here. He responds to needs. Jesus comes in, he says, fellas, go find out what we need. But look at verse 6. He asked them only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Now, I don't understand that. That's the tip-off to me that there's lessons in faith. There's lessons in doing big accomplishments for the kingdom that are included in here. Why would you just not tell them? I think we got some misunderstandings about how God works through faith. I've listened to a lot of people talk about faith and doing big things that don't have much faith and have never done big things. This is where I'm not trying to be abrasive. You didn't drive this far for me to make you angry, and I didn't drive this far to make you angry. When I listen to folks about faith, I want to talk to folks that have great faith. And they've been through the battles and they've got scars. I hear people talk. Here's some misconceptions. We talk about hope. I heard Ronnie Floyd say this last. I've heard several folks say this. Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. I hope God rescues. I hope God steps in. I hope God helps us at Williams Baptist University. Hope is not a strategy. He called the guys in and said, what are you going to do? I want you to do something. I see people say, well, sometimes we just wait on God. And I'm going to sound real unspiritual to some of you. So if I make you mad, talk to me after the service. I'll try to explain it. But listen real closely. It's real spiritual to say we're going to wait on the Lord. And by the way, the Bible says at times you wait on the Lord. All right? Did y'all hear me say that? Okay. There's some of us been waiting on the Lord and walking around in lethargy and laziness for years. Because we're waiting on the Lord. And the Lord is saying, I'm not going to drive this car until you take it out of park and put it in drive. Do you understand faith is when you take the car out of park and you put it in drive? And my experience and my meager experience with faith, until I put the car in drive, see, I want to know what's at the end of the road. Is there light at the end of the tunnel, that sunshine, or is it a big freight train coming my way? I mean, I really want to know. I want to know what's 2 steps ahead of me. And in my journey with faith, here's what God says sometimes. I'm not telling you anything, Tucker. You're such a weakling and a wimp when it comes to faith. I don't want to stand before Jesus at the judgment seat of Christ and him say, you were really a wimp spiritually. You didn't try anything. You didn't attempt anything. That is not what I want to hear. And I don't think you do either. You have to put the car in park, out of park, and put it in drive. And a lot of times that's when God drives the car. So here's what I've heard people say. And by the way, I've said this too. We're just going to, this was real popular 20, 30 years ago. People say, we're just going to let go and let God. What are y'all going to do? We're going to let go and let God. And I know there's a place for that. Well, let's say I come home tonight and I tell Miss Nikki, my great wife of 38 years, and I say, she's just sitting in the chair like this. What's for supper tonight, honey? Well, I don't know. Are you making anything? Yeah, I'm just going to let go and let God. If you're a farmer, well, the cows are out of the pasture. Don't we need to get the cows back in the pasture and fix the fence? Yeah, what are you going to do? I'm just going to sit here and just let go and let God. Oh, really? You're going to lose your cows and you're going to starve to death at my house. It's not an excuse for laziness. There's a time that you wait and that you pray. But see, we get mixed up on comfort zone. Lord, that's out of my comfort zone. Does God always have to respond on Sonny Tucker's comfort zone? Does he have to wait on my wimpy, frightful comfort zone? Is faith about his comfort zone and his resources and his kingdom and his power, or is it about my comfort zone? It's God's ability to use you as a student to make great impact on the world spiritually just about your comfort zone, or is it about his power and his resources and his ability to bless? Attempt great things for God. Plan on doing great things for God. He will put you in the box where you fit. But don't sit around and wait on him to do nothing. Thank you, Foundation for the Future Board and staff here, that you're moving ahead and waiting on God, but you're doing things at the same time. There's always trial and error. You have to allow yourself trial and error. You need to understand that. You need to understand everything's not going to work. But here's what he said. What are we going to do to feed these folks? Well, I don't know. We'll go find out. You want us to go do something? Yeah. Now see, here's what I would have said if I would have been there. I would have said, well, you know, there's a whole heap of folks, Jesus, at least around 20,000 folks. I mean, how does a dozen of us ask 20,000 people what's here? I mean, what do we do? Where do we start? Here's Jesus. I know you created everything. You spoke and the world was created. Can I do this, Jesus? Can we just turn our back and we'll pray? And would you just create 20,000 Happy Meals? We'd like a boy and a girl toy, if possible, even number. And then we'll hand them out. Can we not do that? Jesus, you can do that, right? Can't Jesus do that? He can, right? Why did he make them work? He made them sweat. He made them struggle with their faith. He got them all stirred up. He got them in consternation. He made them sweat. He made them look. He made them work. You say, no, that's not the way I think faith is supposed to be. Faith is supposed to be easy. You missed the point of the story. Many times God's blessings come through great trial, travail, searching, waiting, consternation, where you talk about it, and you talk about it, and you talk about it, and you try and you try. That's exactly what he's teaching them. Church staffs have two different kind of folks. Church leaders in church fit two categories. I don't know about this Foundation for the Future group. I would say you got two kind of folks on this group. And two kind of folks that generally just sparks fly when y'all get together. You got two kind of folks. You got visionaries. Here's what a visionary says. Let's go. Let's go. I get around young pastor visionaries. Here's what they'll say. Now, Brother Sonny, there's just 497 people in our whole county. But bless God, we're going to build a 10,000-seat auditorium and trust him to fill it up. That's a visionary. They don't have any plans. They just got a vision. Here's an administrator. Administrator's first words are, how much is that going to cost? Exactly how many steps will it be from the front door to the back door? Exactly how many milliseconds will it take to get there? And exactly how many windows and how many give me all the details. If you just follow administrators, you will never do anything because they can't act. If you follow a visionary, they will put you in debt for the rest of your life. They will put you in prison. You will owe so much money. So you know what God does in his wonderful plan? By the way, he's done this in my marriage. You know what my wife says? She says, I worry. I asked, why do you worry? She says, I worry about stuff because by golly, somebody in this family ought to worry about something. He makes you get together and love each other and talk about it and talk about it. And he makes you, I don't like holding hands with another man and want to pray. I just tell you. So if y'all do, that's fine. I like to do rocks. We do that. Whether you like to hold hands or do rocks, he makes you get down on your knees. God, show us the way. Give us wisdom from the administrators, the wisdom and discernment and the carefulness that they have. And God, give us the vision of the visionaries to charge ahead. And God, help us to meet in the middle and work these things out. Just amazing to me, he made them work. He made them worry. He made them sweat. And here's what I'll tell you about most of the big things done by God. It's hard, it's gritty, it's grimy, it's sweaty. You don't know if it's going to work. There's trial and error every step of the way. That's normally how the great accomplishments are done. You know what, though? Sometimes, Dr. Stan, God just brings it all in. He really does. I like it when it's that way. Maybe it's just me, but it doesn't normally happen that way. It's very difficult for an institution to step out in faith because there's so many checks and balances. That's not a bad thing. We've had 2 of our agencies or institutions in Arkansas step out in faith lately. God has blessed unbelievably. It brings tears to my eyes. Arkansas, the Siloam Baptist Assembly in Siloam Springs stepped out in faith, got permission from the messengers at the annual meeting to solicit churches, which agencies and institutions can't do without approval, and individuals, and they started building the dining hall that they needed. And there were times I would talk to the director and he'd say, if we don't have money by Thursday, it shuts down. Money would come in on Wednesday night. It happened multiple times. Jay Shell is on the Arkansas Baptist Foundation. They brought our good friend Bobby Thomas from Merrill Lynch. He was real high in Merrill Lynch. And Bobby came in and said, you got a wrong philosophy here. He said, all y'all trying to do is hang on to money. And this is what everybody's done. He said, I want you to give away all the money you can. And they're like, excuse me? You're not living by faith. They started giving away the maximum amounts of money. So in 3 years, the holdings that the Arkansas Baptist Foundation oversees, with them giving away maximum amounts of money, has increased from $191 million to $335 million. It's very difficult for any institution like this to step out in faith. Some of you have a job here, whether you step out in faith or not. It's going to be important for everybody here to get on the team. Faculty, staff, administration. If you can't be happy about it, be happy real quiet. You need to be on the team. It's going to be scary. So everything is not going to work. I try a lot of new stuff. I live on the edge. That's why I ride a Harley. I like risk. Two out of 5 things I try just flat out don't work. Just kill it. One thing is nominal. 2 things are normally really good. That's my pattern. So with this new step, Dr. Stan, there's going to be some stuff that just hits so good. There's going to be some things, Dr. Stan, and to the team of visionaries around you, that it's not going to happen until you put the car in park and drive and you start, and then it's going to come in. I was 21 when I first started pastoring. I was so rough. I made so many mistakes. I had so much excitement. I told the church I want to buy a van, and we did. I took the seats out of a 15-passenger van so I could get 35 kids in the van. Now, I was 21. We didn't know about liability back then, so please forgive me for that. But I said, God gives us $1,500 to buy a van, and we're going to buy a van, and we're going to reach a... And we had an alcoholic in the community who wasn't even saved at that time, gave us some money. He said, I'm just waiting on somebody to do something. Step of faith. We reached so many people. It was unbelievable. We reached so many people. Faith. This is what I see in how God works. So they find something. They come to Jesus, and he said, what did you find? They said, well, we got some kids that's got 2 fish sandwiches in a brown paper bag. Amen, that's all you found? He says, hold it. So the need, 20,000 folks, 2 fish sandwiches in a brown paper bag. What is that among so many? It don't work. It doesn't work until Jesus gets in the mix. He cares about people's needs. He is waiting on someone to step up and say, Jesus, if this is your heart, if this is what you care about, this is out of my comfort zone. This is out of my ability. Don't let us go too far, Jesus. Well, we're going to try it. I'm going to give you a chance. We're going to be very humble. We're going to seek you in prayer. We're going to have times of spiritual renewal and times that everybody's praying and seeking you. But Jesus, if you're the Lord of all glory, you can do this. And we think you care about the impact that goes out from higher Christian education. As scared as we are, Jesus, drive. We'll give it gas. That's when he steps in. Thank you for trying something. Arkansas Baptists are talking about this. They're excited that you're trying. They love this school. They want it to work. The impact from the students, professors, goes out all over. We're behind you. But here's where you are now. You come to Jesus and you've said, we got a need. You want to send them away? Jesus, you won't let these Williams Baptist University just go the route of everybody else? I don't think so, because we're for your glory. We don't know what to do. The resources are meager. We're sweating this thing out. We're going to ask you, Jesus, give us the little Happy Meal thing, do it the easy way. Some of it will. A lot of it you're going to work, you're going to sweat. It's going to be step by step. For this school, it's going to be the same for your life. But in the end, you will look back and say, Jesus, you did the unbelievable because you care about meeting needs. You really care about folks that are hurting, and you care about a university like this that cranks out so many people that makes kingdom impact. Would you bow your head and close your eyes just for a moment? Would you ask God in your own life to increase your faith? Would you ask God in your own life to help you not shrink in fear and trembling at opportunities he opens for you to do great things? Would you ask God for wisdom that goes with being somewhat both a mix of being an administrator and a visionary? And right now, would you ask God to stir hearts and pour out from heaven his blessings on this incredible place called Williams Baptist University that's taken this great step of faith to find better ways to bring more students in that leave here making incredible kingdom impact. Jesus, you showed us your heart. You showed us what you can do with meager resources. You tried to teach the disciples lessons about faith. You had big plans. You still have big plans. I'm still trying to learn, Jesus. Help me. Bless these folks as they go through this. Do great, incredible, mighty, wonderful things through Williams Baptist University for your glory. In your name we pray. Amen.